Hello guys, this is Julia Marcos, a co-founder of Erasmus Youth Academy, and today we are going to talk about how to get funding even if rules change every year. I'm going to share with you top 5 strategies that I prepared for myself, people I work with, and for the team for the upcoming deadline in February and March, and I'm also going to share them with you because believe me, it's 8 years of experience of me and the partners that I'm putting into the strategies. So let's jump into it. Strategy number 1. It can sound like a common sense, but believe me, for many people, common sense is not common sense. Yeah, it's read the guide and check NA regulations. Look, the thing is that you don't want to be disqualified for a technical mistake and lose the time of your team and your personal time by not complying to the rules. What happened in the deadline of 2024 that we as partners were part of capacity building in that sector, and also it was key to big scale project in the field of use. These 2 projects got disqualified. No one even read the application, although these were very good applications. Why? Because in capacity building, rules changed, and at that moment there should be equal number of partners from Europe and from a partner region, which was Africa, and the thing is that the partner by default put more organizations from Europe. This rule didn't exist before. Because of this, our project was never considered. When it comes to key to the leading partner, they didn't know that the applicant organization must be established at least 2 years before applying with K2. It was an Irish organization, and we as partners, we just never checked when they were established, because in my head, by default, everyone knows this rule. So imagine we put weeks and weeks of effort into these 2 projects and they were not even considered. Believe me, you don't want it to happen to you. Rules change. Sometimes there are bigger changes, sometimes there are smaller changes. If you don't know what changes were introduced in 2025, then check another video and there will be a link for it. It's about the new rules and minor changes, but for some people this can be crucial changes. So first, reread the guide, even if you are in this area for the last 5 years, even if you think you know the rules. The second part of it is check NA regulations. Look, NAs have certain freedom into imposing priorities or putting restrictions on the calls. What it means practically is that if you don't know what is happening in your country, you can again lose the time and you can submit the projects that will be disqualified. Let me give you the example. A couple of deadlines ago in Bulgaria, they put a new rule that all KA1 applications plus accreditation applications plus ESC local in the field of ESC, they were supposed to be written in Bulgarian language. I heard it and I read about it 3 days before the deadline. Imagine what rush it created, because we're submitting in total 3 projects in these areas. Some of my partners from Bulgaria, who I told about the changes, they didn't manage to submit the projects because they didn't have time to translate them into Bulgarian. Yeah, or vice versa, national regulation, they can open new opportunities. For example, in Bulgaria, there is normally not an optional deadline in October, yeah, because there is not sufficient funding. But what happened is that in adult sector, there was extra money and extra budget left. So organizations could submit their proposals in October as well, and it created extra opportunities for organizations. So you really want to know those things, because also funding that national agencies get, it can be distributed not equally between the deadlines. They can decide to put 70% of funding on the first deadline and 30% on the last deadline. Or another example, what happened in October is that all key ones in the field of use, we just couldn't submit with partner countries. So it was 0 budget for partner countries. So if someone submitted, for example, a project with Georgia or Ukraine or Moldova or Tunisia, then that's it, game over. I mean, the project wouldn't be funded because there is 0 funding. That's why it's important to go through national regulations before you start preparing for the deadline. Strategy number 2, check results from previous deadlines. Again, dynamics change, yeah? And then you want to see what is your competition before you start applying with your projects. What I know for sure is that, for example, in Greece, the competition for KA2 small scale is so high, and also for KA2 big scale, that it makes almost no sense to apply there. You need to score around 90 points to get your project approved. And believe me, not all organizations, US workers, or even grant writers can create applications of such quality. Like me personally, I know that my range is approx 75, and the maximum I got in my life was 86. And while it was enough for some applications and for Bulgarian reality, I also know that for Greece that simply wouldn't be enough. So the question is, like, why would I put effort into something that has very low probability of getting funded? Another example here is that several deadlines ago in Bulgaria, they had separate budget for funding KA2 big scale for 120, 250 and 400,000. What it practically meant that at some moment there were in the category of 400,000 3 or 4 applications, and one of them was granted, which means that the probability is between 25 and 33% of getting your project approved. While in the category of 120,000 of KA2 big scale, the competition was huge. Yeah, it was, I don't know, like you get 1 out of 12 projects approved, for example. So you want to know the results from the previous projects so that you basically can see how much money is there, what is your competition, how many projects were submitted, how many projects were approved, what was the approval rate. Some organizations, not organizations, some national agencies, they actually publish the points. And this is how I got to know that in adult sector there was actually funding in Bulgaria, whereas in some categories there was not. So check the results, see what is the competition, make it more strategic, and then ensure you have bigger chances, because competition is anyway there, but you don't want to cut your chances but not making a research. My third strategy is to approach a deadline strategically. Let me ask you several questions. As an organization, do you know what is your target group? And here, don't tell me young people from Europe. That's not target group. That's way too wide. Or don't tell me educators and youth workers. But like really, do you know who you want to work with and who you want to create impact with? Do you know what are actually their needs? Not what you think they need, but actually what they need. Have you spoken with your target group? Have you had interviews? Have you had meetings with them? How well do you know them? Because if you know them well, then you'll be able to craft solutions that they will need. Because again, my question is, what's the result or what's the impact you want to create? I see way too many youth organizations that just do things or do projects, and for me these are project factories. By the way, if I ask organization what the topics they work with and they name 5 or more topics, I know that they don't have the focus. They're about everything, they're about climate change, they're about migration, they're about entrepreneurship. But if they're so scattered, then there is no expertise and there is no real impact. And believe me, no one needs another PDF file or another website that no one is going to visit and to get European funding for it. I mean, that's just meaningless. It's just to create work for the sake of creating work. So here there are 2 no-goes. You shouldn't apply on all topics possible. Like just don't do this, because I don't believe that in your organization you're expert in everything. And don't apply as much as possible. This is also no-go. Don't write 15 applications. People, please stop producing 15 use exchanges and submitting them. Like first, you are competing with yourself, or what you are doing, you're just creating several entities to increase your chances. But there are way smarter strategies that will bring you further. Because if you know who you are doing it, if you know what are their needs, if you know what change you want to create, you will be able to build community around your organization, you will be able to strengthen your brand, you will be able to deepen your expertise. Here I have several amazing examples of partner NGOs who, for example, work with inclusion of Ukrainian refugees. Their actions, their activities are super targeted. They're really creating a change. They don't do it because they saw that Ukrainians and their integration is a priority, without having any expertise, without having any contacts, without having any partners. So please, approach strategically. First, decide what is your organization about, who are you serving, what real need you're serving, and what impact you are creating. And out of it, then start crafting your applications. But also be in touch with your target group at all points of time. And the best, by the way, is to get funding for the events or activities that you are anyway hosting or you are anyway having. For example, several years ago, we were making for 1.5 years storytelling events similar to TED Talks. And then after doing it 1.5 years or 2 years at that moment without any funding, I applied for funding and they got us 1 more year of funded events, which allowed us to choose a better venue, which allowed us to have a better experience for our guests, for attendees, which allowed us to also record a podcast and invite guests who were more, let's say at that moment, more interesting to us, but also they were taking higher positions in Bulgaria. So by this, we were building up upon what we had, but we brought more quality and more people into it. So see what you're already doing as organization, because I don't believe that what you do is only international activities. See what you're doing locally and see how to expand it. Strategy number 4. With your projects, create assets. And what I mean by creating assets, you're doing a use exchange or training course on small scale. The outcomes that you are getting, how they will contribute to the work of your organization and growth of your team or people you work with. Let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, we created a challenge. It was about small scale projects. We also had a challenge on KA1 KA1 projects, use exchanges training courses, and we shot a training NGO Sustainable about strategic approach to running organization, plus take into account youth work, online youth work or digital youth work, and it also covered branding. Believe me, now when I work or when I mentor organizations, I'm sending them the links to these videos and courses that were produced as a part of the project. We're still using the Padlet Top 50 Most Aspiring Organizations that was a result of the project. We create something that we are going to use. We are creating something that other organizations are going to use. When we launched small scale challenge for the first time, we had more than 100 participants. When we launched 2 times KA1 writing challenge, we got 300 and 400 participants. We create the values that other people and organizations want, and also that will be used in the future. Right now, we in Synergy Bulgaria have guides on how to manage KA1 projects and team volunteering projects. Actually, sometime in the past, I submitted an application. It didn't get enough points in Bulgaria to get funding because small scale had a huge competition. But it was about how exactly to manage KA1 projects with creating a simple web interface, like a program, a platform for supporting it. I still find the idea brilliant. I want to resubmit it. But the thing is that we're not just creating it to create. I know that this is a real need. I know that it's needed for young people who just start managing projects, for volunteers inside our organization. I know that we will be using it, our partners will be using it, and then I hope members of the Academy will be using it. By this, we are not just spending European money, we are creating assets, we are creating something that will be used in the organizations later on. And by the way, I spoke about sharing it with organizations that I personally work. There is an opportunity to work with me, but before we go there, if at this moment, after hearing these 4 strategies already, you know that, or you feel that you are stuck or lost, or you don't have the answers, what value you create or who you are doing for, or how to strategically approach the next deadline, then leave a comment audit and I will offer you a short and also free call, and I will help you to see what are your weak points, but what are your strong points, and what could be the strategic approach for the next deadlines. What are the opportunities that might be you're not considering at this moment, and could be we work together as well. So just comment audit if you see that this is something that you're missing at the moment. And my last and 5th strategy is explore new opportunities. I know organizations have been running youth exchanges or training courses for the last 10 years. I mean, what they do, they submit only youth exchanges and training courses, but this is a small chunk of what is possible. What if you are doing training courses in the past? Why don't you transform it to small scale, where you're going to further develop the methodology and implement it in several countries? Yeah, why you don't consider centralized actions, for example, capacity building or European use together? Maybe for some organizations who already work with healthy lifestyle or mental and physical well-being, you should consider sport. Erasmus Sport, that is also all centralized, but the thing is that it's not only for sport clubs, because one of their priorities or one of their topics is a healthy lifestyle, and you can pick your activities out there. Or could be, if you work with young people who are writing youth exchanges, you can also explore youth participation activities or ESC local projects. Yeah, it's not limited just to one or two actions. There are many more formats. I'm even not talking about other programs, because of course there are more European programs, but here we're focusing in Erasmus. Yeah, even in Erasmus you have more opportunities. So I would say diversify your risks. Yeah, for the next deadline, when you consider it, see something that you're already good at. For example, you really have strong expertise and you are creating quality training courses, but also see what is one or two formats that you can play with, that you can experiment with, something that you can basically level up your activities and level up the work of your organization. Just look into it, because this is where the growth also comes from. I hope these strategies were useful to you. Definitely we are going to apply it for our 2025 deadline, and then if you found it useful, share it with other people, or also comment 1, 2, 3 or 5 which strategy you found most interesting and most applicable. So see you in the next videos. Ciao!